Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast. We are coming back at you with episode number 52, the first one post Super Bowl here. So we got a lot of talking points to get into. Pretty excited about how our pre-Super Bowl episode kind of turned out. Apologies for not getting that out until like 2 hours before the Super Bowl. Fezzy Boy was grinding trying to get that thing out before the Super Bowl just because we had some technical difficulties with the audio and everything.
Yeah.
Super pumped to have our boys on, but Fezzy Boy, you want to say a little bit about what went into that episode, about 12, 13 man hours on that thing, or what?
Yeah, it was about 10, 12 hours on that sucker, and it's still not great. It's not my proudest work, but it needed to get up. I got it up before the Super Bowl. That was the thing. But I was just like, man, we just missed this huge pre-Super Bowl build-up window, and I was just like, this sucks. But yeah, we had some technical difficulties. We were trying to like record with new mics that I just gotten that day with Riverside in person, and there was like this echo. So I literally had to go through and like whenever someone wasn't talking, like mute their mic because it was picking up someone else's voice. So it was just like tedious, like sitting there for 6 hours and just like weeding through all that. But we got it up. I was telling Sam off pod that I did clean it up a little bit more and re-uploaded it. So if you guys didn't make it through all the way because it was really hard to listen to, I did clean it up a little bit more. So maybe go check that out and finish the episode if you can. But yeah, super stoked to get into some post Super Bowl talk coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely happy with the numbers that Super Bowl episode's kind of doing, a little bit above average for us. So yeah, it's good stuff. Like I said, it was fun to have our boys on. You know, obviously that like I said, just because it was the Super Bowl, obviously we'll have a little bit more listeners, but may have to have them back on.
For sure.
It went pretty well. So yeah, we'll see how that goes going forward. It's not normal for us to put 12 man hours behind putting up an episode. It usually isn't that tedious, but we'll make sure that it's a little bit easier going forward here. But before we get into a little bit of a Super Bowl recap, we'll talk a little bit about how our Super Bowls were spent. Maybe pregame Super Bowl or the actual bowl game. So Fezzy Boy, you want to open us up with what your Super Bowl festivities included there?
Yeah, this is the second year that my sister and her friends were actually, like, they moved here like a couple years ago. So this is the second year that they were here for that. So we just had them over, and they actually had another friend that we grew up with that was in town. So they were here for the Super Bowl. But we just made a Venezuelan food, arepas. I don't know if you've heard of them, but we made those. And stuffed them with like chicken and cheese and beef and stuff like that. So that's what we had. Made some dirty sodas, which was really, really good. Shout out to the Mormons for that. But no, we actually watched the first half outside because it was such a nice day. It was like 77 degrees out that day.
It was really nice.
Like beautiful day. It got a little chilly towards halftime, so then we moved it inside, finished the game inside, and obviously I mean we'll get into it, but like it was the most boring, happiest Super Bowl I've watched in a long time.
Big facts.
But no, it was fun just having like a small little get together and just a chill night to watch the game and hang out with everybody. So
yeah, sounds chill. Sounds like a good day for sure. My Super Bowl Sunday was pretty chill. Obviously leading up, obviously at church, and I actually so my wife Joy had a Galentine's Day thing with like a bunch of the middle school girls that she helps out with at church. Nice. So it was my job to get Bentley out of the house for like 2 hours. So we just spent the afternoon, like went to a park, walked around for a little while.
Nice.
Got him a pup cup at a coffee shop nearby. Drove around a little bit. He loves, like you said, the weather was amazing. So we just kind of drove around with the windows down and everything, and he loves that. So that was from like 2 to 4-ish kind of thing. And then after that, we kind of prepped for the Super Bowl and everything. But we actually went to a friend's house just from church, and they had a bunch of people over, mostly people that we knew for the most part, just people that we work in the youth group with and everything. So it was a blast for sure. Just people that you're pretty close with and everything. So it made it a really, really good time. So it was a great time. Good food,
nice.
Plenty of food. So it was great.
Good.
Like you said, I kind of wished the game was a little bit better. It was kind of over from the beginning kind of thing, but we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, the game was definitely a letdown in my opinion. But yeah, so that was kind of what I did for the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl day. But without further ado, Fezzy boy, let's get into this Super Bowl here.
Let's
A little
get
bit of a recap. Most of you know by now that the Eagles come away with the dub 40-22. And the scoreline, I would say, flatters the Chiefs a little bit. It was like 40-6 up until the last like 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. So just an absolute beatdown by the Philadelphia Eagles.
It was a mugging, dude. It was a mugging.
It was an absolute mugging from the very beginning. Just never really gave the Chiefs a chance, really. We'll kind of dive right into it. I'll kind of read off some of the stats and everything. Get your opinion on everything. From the Eagles side, like I said, they jump out to a massive lead pretty early on. From the very beginning, the Chiefs really couldn't do anything offensively. I feel like a recurring theme that's going to show up here as we talk about this Super Bowl is just the Eagles defense and the Chiefs offensive line. So just a couple stats on that right off the bat here. The Eagles did not blitz on one play the entire Super Bowl. They rushed with 4 the entire night, and were still able to get pressure on almost 40% of Patrick Mahomes' dropbacks, sacking him 6 times, which is a career high in any game for his career. Wow. So absolutely wild that they're able to get that kind of pressure, just exposing the Chiefs' offensive line, who I think it's been known for several weeks now that they're not great. They've kind of been moving people around and trying to, just kind of fill holes where, the need is. And obviously that's kind of falling apart. But Cooper DeJean getting a huge pick six, Zach Bond getting another interception. So what do you got to say about that Eagles defense here? We'll talk about the first half, I guess, a little bit more right now as they jump out to a huge lead early on.
Yeah, man. Going into this game, everyone was saying like the Eagles defense has to show up big, but I don't think anybody expected them to show up that big. Like you were running through some of the stats, just if they weren't sacking Patrick Mahomes, they were definitely getting pressure. There was one play that just kind of stood out for me. There was an outside rusher for the Eagles. I can't remember which one. It was on the right side. I can't remember his name, but he literally took the end and just shoved him right into Patrick Mahomes. I think it was the play when they the Eagles intercepted the ball like down at like the 14-yard line. The Chiefs were backed up. I was just like, that's just
the
like
Zach Bond interception.
Yeah, like that's just a grown man like shoving another grown man. I was just like, it was just highly impressive. But like all around the board, like being able to get 4 to the quarterback and then drop 7, like that's just a recipe to win any game in the NFL, any game at any level. But no, it was just super impressive. And it was kind of funny. I just kept thinking back to like the preview that we did with Peter and Jared.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
And Jared, you can take it from here. But Jared was just like, it's going to be won in the trenches. And dude, it was won and taken and destroyed in the trenches by the Eagles. It was very impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I was about to mention that as well. Just part of our little preview. I feel like we leaned on that pretty heavily. That if the Eagles are able to get pressure on Mahomes pretty consistently and make him scramble a lot more and get him outside the pocket a lot, that's going to be one of the keys to success. And boy, was it ever! I mean, shades of that Super Bowl that he won or he lost against the Bucks as well, where just the whole game it felt like Mahomes was on the run or getting sacked. And like if you're able to get that kind of pressure with only 4 guys, like you just said, dropping 7, that's gonna be game over pretty quick. If you're only rushing 4 and getting that kind of pressure the whole game. What I thought was crazy too is like we're so used to Mahomes, making the plays on the run too, but when you drop 7, like everybody's going to be covered. And every time Mahomes like stepped up in the pocket too, there was nowhere to go. So they were getting a ton of pressure off the edge, closing up that gap in the middle too that would typically be open when you're only rushing 4 after 2 seconds. It's starting to collapse on you. You just run forward and usually there's a spot there. But there's just absolutely, nothing doing for Mahomes and that Chiefs offensive line. And again, like we said in the preview, like it's the Chiefs' weakest link really in their offensive line going up against the the Eagles' strength really of their defense and their front four. So obviously that was a huge key to the Eagles really just putting their stamp on this one from the first quarter. Cooper DeJean getting a huge pick six on his birthday, which was huge. I remember, bro, when the Eagles drafted him, I was mad because I was like, dude, this guy's freak athlete. Yeah. He's gonna kill it in the NFL. Obviously he's really good, but he just slotted in perfectly with that Eagles defense. And then Zach Bond off the practice squad a year ago, getting another interception. He's been crazy good for them all year. Went to a Pro Bowl as well. But we're going to talk about a little bit about Jalen Hurts here.
Huge.
A lot of doubters, man, myself included, not really thinking he's elite. I still think that maybe he's like a beneficiary of just an absolutely stacked team around him. But, man, he rose to the occasion. 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have that interception, which I thought that was going to be a turning point in the first quarter when Brian Cook snagged that. But I mean, he just ran when the spots were there, and he really rose to the occasion. Super Bowl MVP. So, what do you got to say about old Jalen Hurts here?
Yeah, I love this dude. I've loved him ever since Alabama. Not a huge Alabama fan, but like, what really stood out to me was his character. Like getting benched, still cheering the team. Like sorry, I have to preface this: getting benched in the national championship game for Tua. And obviously Tua came back, won that game. It was a huge story during that time. But Jalen Hurts cheering him on, saying like, hey, if this is the guy that's going to win us the game, then by all means, like, the coach knows what he's doing. He never tore anybody down, really just took the high road the entire time, transferred to Oklahoma, won the starting job there. He was in the Heisman race going to Oklahoma. Like, he's just been through a lot. And I mean, like you said, the doubters, especially after last season when they had that hot start and then they just kind of fell off a cliff come playoff time. Everyone was saying, get Jalen out, get Sirianni out, like just all this noise, even like part ways through this season, they were saying that.
Noise of Sirianni getting out this season, like you were saying.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and Jalen just kept his head down, kept grinding, and then showed up in the biggest moments, the conference championship game and then the Super Bowl. Again, the one interception, he was pressured, kind of a bad throw, but when you have that defense that can bail you out, you can play more freely. But no, he really showed up, used his legs. Even when Saquon wasn't having a good game because they were taking that away, he realized that like, hey, this is gonna be on me. And the lights weren't too bright, and he showed up and showed out, which was fantastic to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to Saquon in just a second because he did not have a good game. Per his standards at least. But I couldn't agree more with the Jalen Hurts. Obviously, I've kind of doubted him as being like one of the top elite quarterbacks, like I said a little bit earlier. But I mean, you can't hate the guy. Like he's come up against so much doubt, I guess you could say. I guess you'd call it adversity as well. Just getting benched in the championship game, like you said. Really humiliating moment, having to transfer to Oklahoma. Really not flinching there either. He was a Heisman finalist when he was at Oklahoma. Gets drafted to Philly. His whole career really has been a narrative of, is he a product of the team that's around him? Obviously, Howie Roseman doing a really great job of surrounding him with just stacked players everywhere. Offensive line, best in the league. 2 wide receiver ones really on their roster. Now he's got Saquon, best running back in the league. Like, anybody can kind of succeed with that kind of offense for sure. But he definitely rose to the occasion. Like you said, they took away Saquon. They really just decided that Saquon wasn't going to beat him, which was impressive, but they couldn't do anything about Jalen Hurts coming at him. So great stuff from old Jalen Hurts. He finally gets that elusive Super Bowl. Obviously lost in 2021, 22, 2 years ago, whenever that was.
22,
against the Chiefs. And that one, again, like he made it to the Super Bowl, but he did not have a great game. A lot of people thought he was kind of the reason that they had lost because he was the weakest link of their offense kind of deal. So again, just, rising up against that adversity and proving that he's got the stuff, man. So he's now a Super Bowl MVP, which is really, really impressive.
Yes, sir.
Hopping over to the Chiefs side of things now, we'll kind of discuss their absolute implosion, collapse, whatever you want to call it here. like we said a little bit earlier, offense just could not get anything going.
Yeah.
Outside of Mahomes rushing, the Chiefs only ran the ball 7 times for 24 yards the entire game, which is absolutely insane. Obviously, some of that has to do with playing from behind from the beginning. I feel like
Yeah.
5 minutes into the game, they were down two scores. It felt like so.
It was crazy.
Having to chase, from the very beginning doesn't help with your game plan. But yeah, that obviously they couldn't run. First half stats for Mahomes: 33 yards, 2 interceptions. So not the Mahomes we're used to seeing here. DeAndre Hopkins had a huge drop on third down. I forget if that was in the first half or not.
Yeah.
But that one where he fell down, he probably could have housed it if he stayed on his feet and was able to catch that. So, what do you got to say about Mahomes and the Chiefs in the first half? Like I said, massive implosion. Not the Chiefs or Patrick Mahomes we're used to seeing. But even for their for anybody's standards, 30, what did I say? 24, 33 yards, something like 33 yards, 2 interceptions for Mahomes, inexcusable. So what do you guys say about the old Chiefs here?
Yeah, I mean, I lean more towards like it was just Philly's defense. I mean, like we were saying earlier, when you're able to rush 4 and get home to the quarterback and then be able to drop into zone coverage and cover the entire field with the rest of the team, it's really hard. I mean, Mahomes had literally like 2 seconds to do anything. So even if they tried to throw screens, they were literally getting there before they could even throw screens.
Right.
So I blame mostly. I just
the
believe
one.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say the play that everyone is flaming Kelsey for, where he's like not blocking or whatever. That was supposed to be a tight end screen, but they just get there so fast that it looks like Kelsey's like just half trying, and then Mahomes just gets blown up. So like, it's just
yeah.
so
yeah. That's a great example of like just how the entire night went from start to finish. Just they weren't able to get into anything. Like we were saying, and I think I was the one that made this point in the preview that like I was worried that the Eagles defense was going to play into the Chiefs' hands in the sense that they played over the top and they played mainly zone defense, and so they were going to be able to get those over the middle throws to a Kelsey or to a Xavier Worthy, crossing across the field. Yeah. And so it kind of happened the way I thought, but no one expected the front 4 of Philly to do what they did. Like that was just an all-time, like we were saying, mugging in this game by those front 4s. So granted, I mean, when you're playing one of some say the greatest quarterback to play the game, you expect more, but at the end of the day, I think Philly was just too much to handle for that beat up and kind of like makeshift front O-line of the Chiefs.
Yeah, I totally agree. Probably could have mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, but I feel like the Eagles just, position by position, I think they're the best team in the league. Just absolutely stacked at every position. And on the Chiefs side, like, obviously it felt like every single game this year, like 1 possession, 3 points, even against like bottom feeders of the league, just scraping by, obvious deficiencies that, were there. And all the experts were like, oh, it can't hold up. Well, it held up against everybody until they got to the Super Bowl. And I feel like that was just a culmination of everything, like the Chiefs not being, the Chiefs that we're used to seeing with a high-powered offense, with a bad offensive line, going up against an Eagles team that is just stacked at every single position. I felt like those 2 things colliding, and that's how you get a score and a game that was as lopsided as it was. But one area that the Chiefs, like I said earlier, just decided they weren't going to let beat them was Saquon Barkley. And that was really, really impressive by them. I thought he rushed 25 times, only had 57 yards, comes out to roughly about 2 yards per rush, which is, I think, very, very impressive for the Chiefs defense after he's been averaging like 180, 190 yards in the playoffs this year, which is absolutely wild. So, they had the really, really dumb third down flag as well, where
ridiculous.
It was gonna be like 3rd and 20 something, and the guy just decks Saquon from behind. We can talk about if that was a ticky tack call or whatever. but I mean, it was a flag, obviously.
It was late. It was late
just
for sure.
brutal for the Chiefs. So they're trying to get any kind of momentum. Obviously, we saw Steve Spagnuolo kind of getting really upset there. But what did you think about them shutting down Barkley here?
Yeah, I mean, that was their game plan. Everyone knew it. Everyone talked about it leading up to the Super Bowl. Like, it was stop Barkley at all costs. I think the phrase they use, I think it's a Belichick phrase, but like, make them beat you left-handed. And the Eagles left hand was like fantastic. Like, yeah, you're going to take away Barkley. Well, we got Jalen Hurts. And that was the one thing people were kind of like still doubting walking into the Super Bowl. They were like, can Jalen put it on his back? Can he throw the ball? Can he rush through? And I think that's what he really like. I think, again, it just speaks to like Jalen being elite because, like, yeah, sure, like people were expecting Jalen could pull out a close win. People weren't expecting Jalen to go out and just rout the Chiefs, just absolutely destroy them. And that was just where everyone was like, whoa, we got to start putting Jalen in like the top 5 conversation. But no, really impressive. I think this stretches Spagnuolo's, he has a streak going on in the playoffs, right, where he doesn't allow the top rusher from the team to go over 100 yards, and I think that's still intact. So really impressive by him, but obviously, like, again, the Eagles just have depth and weapons all around the field. Like, you shut down one, they're gonna just beat you some other way. So huge game by them.
And again, when you're blitzing like that too, like you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, which like you're gonna bet on them to get open one-on-one on the outside. Like,
right.
There's a couple third downs where they would get them to third and 5, 3rd and 6. Jalen would drop back again. He has like 5 hours in the pocket to just do whatever he wants back there. And then AJ Brown gets open on the sideline. Nice little pitch and catch kind of thing. So just all around, man. Like Eagles coming up big. Couple Chiefs bright spots if you can have them in this game.
Right.
It kind of in garbage time, but Xavier Worthy has a rookie record of 157 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He might be really good for a long time in the NFL. Their offense might look a little bit better with him and Rashee Rice coming back next year, maybe. And then Travis Kelce, most catches in Super Bowl history. He passes Jerry Rice with 35 catches in Super Bowls. So when you make 5 of those things, those catches are going to add up for sure. So obviously, most of that kind of was done in garbage time when it didn't matter anymore. I will say that one throw that Mahomes had to Worthy, he threw it like 60 yards, like on a rope. I think he was in his own 40. That was an impressive throw, man.
Yeah.
But Hurts kind of had a similar one to Devontae earlier on in the game as well.
That was the dagger right there. Like, dude, I remember the announcer went, maybe run the ball, run some clock, and he's like, no, they're gonna put it away, and he went over the top to Devontae, and I jumped up. I was like, dude, that's it. Like, because
when you're up 30 points, you can do what you want.
Yeah, when you're up 30 points, but like in the back of my mind, like until we got to the 4th quarter, I was just like, these are the Chiefs. They gotta have something up their sleeve, and like even like when they scored those late, like those 2 late scores, I was just like in my head, I was still like running the math. I'm like, we're still up by like 3 scores. Like, there's no way, right? There's no way. Like, it's just like that's the type of hold that the Chiefs had on the league for a while. I feel like this will diminish it a little bit. We'll show that like, hey, these guys are beatable. The aura is kind of a little gone now for sure.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Everyone that I was with at the party was fully expecting a Mahomes comeback. Like, even when he was down 24-0 at halftime, they're like, all right, they're going to go into halftime. They're going to make some changes, and they're going to come out, and it's going to be 24-17.
Like, everyone was saying that. They're like, this is the 20-plus comeback. Like, he's going to overtake Brady. I was like, dude, if it's scripted to do this, I'm going to break the TV and never watch football again. I was going to shut it off real quick.
Yeah. It wasn't to be. That would, if he would have come back from that, he would have been coming back from a larger deficit against a better team, but we don't even need to talk about that because obviously it didn't happen. But it's interesting you mentioned the scripted thing. I just wanted to touch on one more thing before we kind of conclude with a couple takeaways for both teams. But obviously the talk on this subject was rampant in the first 2 weeks, so much so that Fezzy Boy posted a good old reel about our boy Peter kind of ranting about it. But what did you think about the I guess the refs, how the game was called. How did you think that, that kind of shook out for both sides? I personally thought it was a evenly called game and everything, and there's no real issues for me. But what did you see kind of in that aspect?
Yeah, the early PI made me think like, oh boy, here it goes. But then they kind of kept it pretty even, which like there was a bit of a makeup call on Goddard. There was like a unnecessary
totally
roughing that totally like changed it. But I said this leading up to the Super Bowl. I was like, the Eagles have to knock the Chiefs out. Like they have to get up by so much. Like in hindsight, obviously they did, but like they have to get up by so much that like the refs can't even lose it for them. Like the refs can't win it for the Chiefs. And like that's what they did. Like they were up by so much that it was like, if the refs start throwing flags for the Chiefs and giving them life, it's like, oh boy, like if there really was a
I didn't even
conspiracy.
see that. Like I didn't even see them trying to get the Chiefs back in. Like it was never
Well, it was
like
done
even
in the first half, so they were like,
yeah, true.
Goodell called him up and be like, hey, Eagles are winning this regardless of what we
yeah,
think. Just
don't do anything.
Call it clean. No,
Yeah.
that's just a joke, obviously. But like no, it was just funny because I said the whole week I was like, they just gotta knock them out. Dude, they knocked them out. Dude.
Definitely knocked them out.
Holy cow! But
yeah. No, I was happy with how the game was officiated. There's always going to be those people that, even though you kind of joked about it, they're going to be like, oh well, since they were up by so much, they weren't even going to try to bring the Chiefs back.
Right.
But I thought, I mean, the PI early on, like I understand like people that are like, oh, it's a Super Bowl, but like they called one against the Chiefs, like, right after that, like you said, on Goddard. So I felt like it was called both ways. If anything, the Chiefs were kind of getting the short end of the stick in the second half. Like, I don't know if the strip sack on Mahomes, which we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Dude, he gets clobbered 2 hands in the face. Like,
yeah.
If it was in the regular season, they probably call that like on any quarterback in the NFL. So like, that's not.
Yeah, that was just the luxury of being up by so much. Like,
it didn't
Jalen
matter.
Carter was just like, dude, I'm punching this dude in the face. Like, what are they gonna do? Give him 15 yards and a first down? We're up by 3 scores.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can't remember. I think it was either Green, like actually like Greeny. It wasn't Stephen A, but it was someone like who was pretty high up in like sports talk, like media, who was just like, that was the culmination of the entire NFL season coming down on Patrick Mahomes. Like that was the punch for every NFL fan that hates the Chiefs. I was like, I loved watching that. Like, obviously I don't wish harm on anybody, but like that was
just keep
a bit
replaying
satisfying.
That. Yeah, no, for sure. Good stuff. We'll kind of roll into a couple takeaways here for both teams now. We'll start off with the Eagles finally getting their elusive Super Bowl after their win in 2018. Obviously, come close a couple times. Kind of always been in the mix, at least. I know they've missed the playoffs a couple times in there when they're rebuilding, but kind of been a staple the last few years, or at least being in contention for sure. With their stacked roster, man, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not as familiar with their contract situations as I am with the Chiefs, man. But how do you see their roster going forward? No, I guess no reason to think that they won't be, right back here next year.
Yeah, I mean, they got a bunch of rookies and like Bonds off the practice squad. Like he's not getting paid a lot. Like I'm pretty sure that their cap is looking like their salary cap is pretty manageable. I think they're gonna be able to keep mostly everybody. And one thing we don't give Sirianni enough credit for is he actually like galvanizes a group. Like I know people will say, well, like AJ Brown and like he was reading on the sideline, this, that. And like, I mean,
inner excellence.
In the preseason, there was even like stories about, Jalen Hurts and Sirianni not getting along and stuff like that. But whether that's true or not, like they just won a Super Bowl. He was able to bring the group together, even with the drama. So something about Sirianni just galvanizes them. But I think the biggest thing is they just lost their offensive coordinator to the Saints head coaching job. Kellen Moore's staying. He stayed in New Orleans after they won the Super Bowl. But it'll be interesting to see who they
house
put in there
after the game.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, smoked a cigar and then started looking for houses. But no, I just wanted to get your what do you think? Do you think they'll be able to continue this? I don't know. Continue this.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to be at least in contention for it. I don't think that they're going to be maybe quite as much of a dynasty. I think they came um, close to like they almost lost against the Rams. I think some teams in the NFC are going to be a little bit better. Like if they would have played the Lions, bro, like all
Yeah.
the chance in the world for the Lions to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not going to be as easy as oh yeah, we'll be back next year. But I haven't heard of any. How the announcers always say, like, especially with the Chiefs, like, oh, they got all these contracts, like X person's up, X person's up. I haven't heard much of that for the Eagles. So I'm assuming that most everybody's going to come back. I know they got some older guys like Brandon Graham. He's been hurt most of the year, but he's like 36. He's going to retire. So some culture guys like that, they might lose. But as far as I know, man, most of those guys are going to be coming back. I know they got Cooper DeJean on a rookie contract and Reed Blankenship, who's pretty. I think he's still on his rookie deal as well. I could be mistaken about that, but just as much as it hurts me as a Cowboys fan, I think the Eagles are going to be back. I don't think that there's. I think Howie Roseman is one of the top GMs, man, in the whole NFL. So,
oh yeah,
it's unfortunate for sure, but I think they're going to be at least in contention for years to come with a roster like they have. I will say though, like Barkley's looks like the best. I mean, he is the best running back in the league, but he's over 30.
yeah.
He's over 30 now. So those running backs, we know that they don't hold up as well as some of the other skill positions do.
But when you got an O-line like the freaking
exactly.
Eagles,
Yep.
like I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but like it was the stat for how many yards he got before he was even touched is insane. It was like 5 to 10 yards before he's even getting touched. So like, I mean, when you're barely, and then he's so elusive, he's not even getting tackled. So when you're minimizing hits, I mean, he might be good for another 3-4 years at this point.
Yeah. Heaviest offensive line in Super Bowl history lining up for the Eagles. So
crazy.
Like
Big
I said,
boys.
as much as it pains me as a Cowboys fan, I think the Eagles are going to be back. Maybe not quite in the Super Bowl, but they're going to be in contention for the NFC for at least a few more years. Commanders are coming up, which hurts even more. Not that this warrants any kind of time at all, but Jerry Jones, like a couple hours before the Super Bowl, he's like, he said that he was shocked that the Cowboys weren't in the Super Bowl this year. I was like, oh, we're never gonna get
at
rid
what
of him.
point do we just like realize that Jerry's actually like going crazy? Like at what point do we just
he's got him?
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's tough. But yeah, good stuff for the Eagles. Unfortunately there, but hopping over to the Chiefs side, wanted to get your perspective on a couple of different talking points here. We might park it just for just a second here, just because they're the Chiefs, they're the dynasty, been to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years, 7 straight AFC championships. So what do you think this means for the dynasty? Like we mentioned, a lot of contracts are up, man, on both sides of the ball. There's talk of a Kelce retirement possibly, which I feel like didn't really gain much steam until after the Super Bowl was over. So what do you got to say about kind of those talking points and talks of the dynasty kind of some people are saying coming to an end, but they'll definitely have to retool a lot for next year for sure.
Yeah, I've seen this topic talked about a lot in the last week. Some people are saying like are putting them and saying like they won't even win one, like because Brady had that long stretch, like a 10-year stretch where he didn't win a Super Bowl, and then he went back and they started a new dynasty, what have you. But I just don't see that for the Chiefs, man. I mean, they're just going to be too good. Like I was saying, the aura might be like dead a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're still the Chiefs. They still got Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he laid an egg in the Super Bowl, but like, I mean, he's going to come back even hungrier next year. It'll be interesting to see, like you were saying, if Kelce comes back or not, but they got Xavier Worthy, who's up and coming. And as long as they have Andy Reid and Spagnuolo, like they're always going to be good. They're always going to have a good defense. Andy Reid's always going to figure out how to use the pieces they have. So I don't envision them going 10 years without it. But I did listen to someone have a good point. Like, so you have to assume, Allen's going to get one, Burrow's going to get one, and Lamar's going to get one in the next 10-year span, right? Like, if you just assume that.
Maybe.
And then
none of them beat Mahomes yet. So.
That's true.
But yeah,
but like in the next 10
play
years.
Along.
Yeah, play along. Assume those 3, and then you have like a bunch of coaches off the top, like Shanahan and McVay are going to get some. So you're up to 5. And then you have the Lions and the Commanders who are going to, Jaden Daniels is going to win a Super Bowl at some point. Lions are going to win a Super Bowl at some point. So you're up to 7. So that leaves like 3 more. And then you kind of just like, you just think it's hard to win a Super Bowl. So it really limits their chances if you use that way of thinking, which I don't really think that holds a lot of weight. But it was just an interesting way to think about it. Like I don't know, like the rest of the league's coming, and you always got that target on your back if you're the Chiefs. So I don't know. Interesting to see. Maybe the dynasty's not dead. Maybe it'll take a few years off, but I think they'll win at least 2 more in the next 10 years. They gotta, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would tend to agree with that. I don't think the dynasty is over at all, unfortunately. I think, like we were saying earlier, they'll definitely have to retool after this year. But just the run that they've had so far has been absolutely insane. And I get what the podcaster or whoever you heard say that. I get what he's saying, but like we've been saying that with Mahomes, with Allen and Jackson and Burrow since 2020, basically, and like none of them have beat him except for Burrow, and that was so long ago.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot different next year, I think, depending on how the Chiefs, rebuild. But every time we think that Mahomes is going to lose, he just doesn't lose. So I think it's interesting, the NFC guys that are coming up. Like, I think if the Lions met the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Lions would have probably won. Commanders probably not, but they're going to get better. Guy on a rookie deal, so I can kind of see some of that. But you think one of these guys is going to get him eventually, but we'll kind of see, what they're able to do for sure. But I don't think there's so many people, bro, that I'm not a Chiefs fan, but like I feel like I try to be like objective and like honest and somewhere in the middle when it's not my teams. And there's so many people trying to tear down the Chiefs, what Mahomes has done, and like say the dynasty's over. He's never going to be in the GOAT conversation. Blah. I think that's so ridiculous. Like the Chiefs almost had a three-peat. They've come closer to three-peating than any team has come in NFL history. Just because you lose in the Super Bowl it's not a tarnish on your legacy. Like, I just don't understand the people that are ready to not even mention Mahomes in the GOAT conversation when he's still like in his first 7 seasons above Brady in almost every category and stat. In Brady's first 5 Super Bowls, he was 3-2. That's where Mahomes is right now. And Mahomes has been to more Super Bowls earlier in his career than Brady has.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, Brady took a 10-year break. Like he didn't get to his 5th Super Bowl till he was 34. Like Mahomes is only 29. And again, like you mentioned earlier, like 7 AFC championships in a row, 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. Like everyone just wants to throw that away because they had a bad game against a team that was a lot better than them. Like I feel like you can't take away from someone's legacy for losing a Super Bowl. Obviously, it was a bad loss, terrible loss, but I definitely think that they're going to be back. I just think that there needs to be a little bit of perspective as far as, what they're, how they're viewed and everything. I think that some of that will calm down a little bit. I think that, obviously the hatred against the Chiefs is so passionate now because everyone, the refs calls and, all that stuff. And like, I understand that to an extent. But just wanting to throw them away, even though they're still, in the conversation, I saw something interesting too. Maybe I'll get your perspective on this, but people on the other side of the aisle who aren't Patriots fans question the Patriots. They always say 20-year dynasty. When they took 10 years off in the middle, like, they made a Super Bowl, but they didn't win one for 10 years. So like, what would you say? Do you think that the Patriots, dynasty is that long, or do you think the period from like 07 to what was it, 15, 16, something like that, where they didn't win one, do you think that takes away from it at all?
Yeah, I feel like personally it would take away because like a dynasty is like, I mean, I wasn't watching football like a whole lot back when
Mm-hmm.
they were dominant and stuff like that. So I caught the tail end of the dynasty, obviously. But I don't know. I feel like to call yourself a dynasty, you got to be at least winning one. I don't know. I don't know. You can't really put a number on it, I guess, but like you have to be at least winning one or getting to them regularly. Like you said, they like in that 10
Right.
years, they got to like one, you said? Like one.
Yeah,
So like, I mean,
I think it was one.
like you have to at least be getting to them like every 3 or 4 years, at least
Yeah, there's
getting to
obviously
one.
the '07 one where they had an undefeated season, lost to the Giants, and then they won again, I think in 2011, lost to the
Mm-hmm.
Giants again. So that may have been two in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think people call them the dynasty because they were dominant. Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, like the year that they lost to the Giants, the first one, they were going for an undefeated season, which was unheard of. And so, like, people are like, oh, yeah, this is the greatest team ever. So, like, in that 10 years, they were probably still dominant, but they just weren't quite getting over the top. It just shows how hard it is to win them. But I don't know. I think if the Chiefs continue, like, if they don't take, like, even if they take like 5 years off and then like win another Super Bowl, I think people will start putting them definitely over the Chiefs dynasty because it's like, oh yeah, the Patriots went 10 years without winning one. Chiefs only went 5, so it's going to be like, well, that debate's kind of over because, you know, their
Yeah.
excellence was more withstood the test of time better, I guess you could
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point too, like, even if they'll have to rebuild, like, they're not going to be rebuilding for 10 years. Like, that's not, they have a great GM. They have Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Mahomes. Like, you don't need to flip a roster like the Jags have to every 2-3 years because
Right.
even though they don't win.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I think to our buddy who commented on our Instagram reel, the just the fact that the Patriots fans their hatred is so vitriolic against the Chiefs just shows you how much like the Chiefs and Mahomes has accomplished in such a short amount of time. Like Mahomes he's been to 5 Super Bowls, which is the second most all time by the age of
Mm-hmm.
29. He's only behind Brady. Like he's already been
Yeah.
to more than Montana. And like granted Montana went 4-0 in a Super Bowl, but Montana didn't even get to 5 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's just different ways that you can take it for sure. And
Yeah.
like you said, I don't think it's going to take them 10 years to rebuild everything. It might take them 2 or 3 before they're back again. But honestly, when you got Mahomes on your team, man, like, you never know what can happen. So,
Yeah.
I think the fact that the Chiefs, like I said earlier, came closer to a three-peat than any other team ever has with a let's call us an inferior roster, I think only adds to their dynasty. It doesn't necessarily take it away. I mean,
Yeah.
terrible loss, yeah, but let's look at the bigger picture here. So again, not a Chiefs fan. I just feel like there has to be someone kind of on the other side bringing everybody back to the middle a little bit,
Right.
just because most of the people I see online, most of the people that um, you know, I'm friends with, like not necessarily you, but a lot of people that I'm friends with at church. Obviously, Peter, we know he's a Pats fan.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of other side and hatred.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to see the Chiefs win. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I'm a Cowboys. Like, I have no connection to the Chiefs at all whatsoever. Like, I want the
Right. Right. Right.
Cowboys to win 6 in a row. But
Yeah.
yeah,
You're the
so that's
voice of
kind of
reason, Sammy. You're the
I'm
voice of
I'm
reason.
trying, man. I'm trying. So when it
Appreciate it.
comes to not my own teams, like I said earlier, I try to be somewhat objective here. But
Right. Right.
all that
I
being
get that.
said, I hope the Chiefs never win again. So
Yeah. There we go.
we'll see about that. But that'll kind of conclude our Super Bowl recap here. Another end to a very very good, I would say, NFL season. Despite both Fezzi and ours and my team not doing so hot. Fezzi's team obviously a little bit better than mine, but another glorious season. Obviously, we'll be talking. We always say that we're not going to talk football like we did last year, but
We always do.
almost every single week we find an off-season topic to talk about. So I'm sure we'll be back next week with trade talk or NFL draft or whatever. So
Yep.
but yeah, that'll kind of conclude the games, I guess, for now until the fall comes around again. So with all that being said, we'll say goodbye to the NFL season and get into a little bit of football talk here. Hopping over the pond, as we usually do in the second segment here after the NFL football portion of the podcast. We're actually going to kick it off by talking about a game that happened about 2 weeks ago or so. just because it benefits me and my Gunners, and I don't get
Yes,
enough
sir.
shine with my teams doing well. So we're going to talk about that. We could have talked about it last week, but obviously we had this big Super Bowl episode and everything. So, but my Gunners, 5-1 victors over Manchester
Good
City.
stuff. Good stuff.
Just a nice little spanking there. Yeah, so that was a good, very very good game for my Gunners. Man City are obviously the thorn in the side the last couple of years. Always coming in second to them. Obviously, as we've kind of mentioned before on the podcast, Man City kind of down in the dumps this season. Really not being able to do what we're used to Man City being like the last 5 years, really, in the Premier League. They went on that run where it was like something like 9-10 games without a win, 9 losses, a tie, something like that. So obviously not the Man City we're used to seeing, but they had a little bit of a resurgence, beating some teams that they should have beaten, but still massively struggling with the good teams in the league, struggling against Liverpool, struggling against Manchester United, having that 1-0 lead until the 90th minute, and United getting 2 goals. That was a big time loss for them. But Arsenal just, there's one of the best games I've seen them play all season. We're ravaged by injuries, really. But this game we had 2 of our youngsters from our academy scoring goals, and Miles Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri. Probably don't even know who those people are, but they're actually some bright spots in our academy. You might see them break into the first 11, become household names in the next year or so. But yeah, I mean, we took the lead super early on. Martin Odegaard, 2nd minute. Thomas Partey with another. He can crack the ball from outside the box. It's a good thing to. I'm so glad. Like a year or two ago, like everyone was saying that we should sell him. Like he's a good player, but we need to get money for him. I'm so glad that we've kind of kept him. He's been playing right back for us with all the injuries, which is kind of weird, but he's done really really well for us. But what do you got to say about Man City? Another huge collapse here. Arsenal in 2nd place here. Man City struggling still in 5th, outside of the Champions League spots right now. So what do you got to say about this thrashing by my Gooners?
Yeah, I mean, it's about time you guys did something against Man City.
Right?
Obviously, most Arsenal fans won't want me to say this, but Man City definitely in a lull right now, missing some players. But dude, it's just one of those clubs that like always has a target on their back. And regardless of their situation, dude, you beat a Man City or like a Real Madrid or a Bayern or anybody of that caliber. Like that's a huge win. And especially to do it in the fashion you guys did it, 5-1, it's like huge, dude. And I think I did I watched some of the highlights on it. Like you guys honestly could have put like 6 or 7 past them. Like there were a couple of like, I want to say easy chances, but like definitely chances
Havertz
that you
inside the 6, like not even putting it on goal.
Definitely.
I'm so upset.
And that's kind of par for the course for Havertz, which little side note, did you see that he actually got
gone?
Yeah. He's gone for the season. So I don't know.
Yeah,
seems like you guys
are
in
just a second.
Yeah, seems like you guys will do all right with it. But no, huge result for you guys. Definitely in the title race. I think you're 7 points back from Liverpool right now. So, and you're really the only one challenging
today. So,
okay, huge. Yeah, you're like the only ones challenging because I mean, Nottingham Forest is in 3rd and they're 10 points behind Liverpool. So, it's kind of really up to you guys. So, low key rooting for Arsenal to do something, make it interesting near the end of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. 7 points is 3 games, so we're going to need Liverpool to tie a lot or to lose, which they don't do often. So, but yeah, we'll kind of see how that kind of shakes out. But yeah, just a really good feeling to beat Man City. I'm not sure if you saw the fiasco after the game, but Haaland earlier in the season, after the first game at the Etihad, he got into a spat with Arteta and he said, "Stay humble, stay humble." Basically since then, Man City has kind of been terrible. So we're able to get one back on him. And I don't know if you saw the, what song did they play? They played some rap song that was like mentioned being humble or something. That was really funny after the game.
What was it?
But then like everyone was.
Was it the who just did the Super Bowl halftime?
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that what?
It was him. Yeah.
Be humble.
Yeah. Be humble.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what why was I blanking on that? But anyway, they were playing that, like guys were getting in his face, like telling him to be humble and all this. So obviously we're getting them while they're down and hurt right now, but it feels so good, dude. After 2-3 years of just getting not just head to head beating them, but like they're the reason that we haven't won a league title. So getting one over them like that and rubbing it in Holland's face definitely felt good. But like you were saying off pod just a second ago, what do you got to say about old Erling Haaland not being able to really? He's not able to take a loss really. Like, he's so used to winning every game the last couple of years with Man City that he doesn't do well when he's not scoring and not winning. So
yeah, I mean, it's easy to be humble when you're winning. It's really hard to be humble when you're losing. And I think that's kind of like same with Pep. Like, I've always loved Pep, but like,
totally agree, dude.
We've talked on the pod multiple times during this stretch of like bad form where like he's like legitimately like tweaking, like scarring his head, scratching his head, like literally just, I don't know, going psycho because I don't think he's ever lost this much in his life. But
yeah, he probably hasn't.
Yeah, I just off pod I mentioned that it feels like Man City's rubbing off on Haaland because I really liked him when he was at Dortmund, and then when he came into Manchester City, obviously helped them win another title, scoring all those goals. But like he did it humbly, and he was just kind of like, I just want to get better. I'm not really, I want to make the team better. But now it's just like, pointing to the Premier League badge and saying like, yeah, we got 2 or 3 of these. Like,
bro,
dude, calm down. This is like, what an idiot. What an idiot.
There are few things that annoy me more in sports when like Clay does this or did this some too, where like, you have an all-time great or like, a really good player who's won a lot. And as soon as they start losing and like they can't take it and they have to be like, oh, well, I owned you back, blah, blah, blah. I have X amount of titles. Like Pep did it earlier this year. Haaland is doing it. Clay obviously did it when he's like, oh yeah, 4, whatever. Which I thought was funny at the time, but I was just like, bro, just take your L. Like, we know you were good. This is why you're getting it, because you were good for so long. And like, deep down, there's a respect of like, this is why we're rubbing it in your face, because you were this great player. Or like maybe still are. We're getting you, we're getting you back right now, at least on this night kind of thing. So I mean, maybe that's just me being soft. I don't know. Like maybe I would do that if, 60,000 people were screaming at me like, oh, you suck when I have 5 Premier League titles. But, I hate that as a fan, dude. I can't stand it. But it's probably also coming from a fan whose teams almost never win. So that may have something to do with it too. But
maybe.
Anyway, hopping over to the Champions League, which was the hot topic this week. We had some really, really good games. We're obviously at the knockout rounds here, which for those of you who don't necessarily follow soccer, we play 2 legs, home and away. Got a really, really good draw. Real Madrid playing Man City. I feel like they play each other almost every year at some stage in the Champions League at this point. But Real Madrid coming back once again with a 3-2 victory. Haaland with a brace, which was pretty impressive, going up. I believe it was 1-0, 1-1, and then 2-1, I believe, Man City. And then Madrid coming back to get a 3-2 victory in stoppage time. Jude Bellingham, kind of a player known for getting late goals here. I'm not sure how much you watched this. I know you're at work for most of these games now, but massive dub by Real Madrid coming back. Mbappe with a big goal too.
Yeah, huge, absolutely huge. I really thought Man City was going to pull this out because like they started off really strong, had some good chances, got that goal from Haaland, and he ended up scoring a brace. But like, I mean, one was a pen. But I mean, it's not really Manchester City's offense; it's their defense just letting in such easy goals. The back line hasn't been playing together super long. They just let Walker go to AC Milan, which we'll touch on them in a little bit, but. No, I want to get your thoughts on like the banner that Manchester City had with the Ballon d'Or and Rodri. Like, what are you guys thinking? Your team is not in a good stretch of form. You got the current Champions League winners coming in, playing. You got like, why any more motivation? Like just shut up, cheer your team on, and hope they scratch out a result. I mean, Vinny was man of the match. Like, he definitely took that personally, whether in the interview after he said he didn't. But no, I definitely want to hear what you thought of that. Just like, I don't know, wild scenes and just, I don't know, just more Man City stupid antics, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like, why are you poking the bear? Obviously,
Yeah.
without them doing anything, Vinicius is going to come into that game feeling like he has something to prove against, obviously Rodri isn't out there because he's hurt. But he's going to have something to prove against Man City, against those guys. He doesn't need any extra motivation. So seeing that banner just gives him a little bit more kick to do even better than, he was already decided he was going to do. So they didn't need to do that at all, especially like you said, great point. Man City, not a hot season from them. So like, they were going to struggle to begin with in this game. You don't need to be given one of the best players in the world any more motivation to come out and destroy you. So, like you said, made the match for Vinny. He actually, I'm not sure what you were referencing necessarily, but I saw something after the game saying that he did see the sign and he was like, yeah, that motivated me. Like I was going to go out there and really own these guys. So, yeah, that's just not a great look for Man City and their fans right now, and when you're doing stuff like that. But big props to him, especially how the whole Ballon d'Or went down. Like again, another debate. I think both and I kind of landed on, we understand giving it to Rodri, but also understand the people that are screaming for Vinny kind of thing.
Right.
So there was already enough going on this. They didn't need to do all that. So
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. But yeah, great win by Real Madrid away from home. They're obviously going to go back to Madrid now with a 1-goal advantage. And I would definitely favor them with Man City being a little bit on the back foot here. Not doing well this season for them to go through. I'm just crazy that we're getting this matchup in the so early in the knockout rounds. But some other results we'll hop around here. Bezzy's kind of adopted team here. Milan 1-0 losers to Feyenoord of the Netherlands. Crazy result there. I actually had to peek at Milan's lineup when they went down. I was like, are they missing somebody? Like, why aren't they just struggling? Stacked roster. They got basically everybody that's starters for them. So I'm not sure how much you watch. I'm sure you just watch the highlights at least. But what do you got to say? Pulisic, man, you got to step up. Bring your team into the Champions League. Get them past at least Feyenoord. Come on now.
I know, seriously. I actually did watch this game. It was a slow day at work, and I was able to actually watch it on my phone. Very, very upsetting and frustrating result. Obviously, them losing the game 1-0. We actually had just bought in Jimenez from Feyenoord literally like 2 weeks ago. So he got Feyenoord into the playoff round, and now people were saying, "Oh, we might knock Feyenoord out," and it's like, no, obviously that's not going to happen. But we were playing.
Maybe that's why they were playing with a little motivation.
I guess so, but no, I think just to get a little tactical here, we have an abundance of attacking players right now who are some are new, some have been playing with the club for a little bit, like Pulisic and Leao. But we started Jimenez up top, and then we had João Felix playing the 10, and he's a new signing that we just got literally like 2 weeks ago as well, kind of trying to find his way into this team. And then we had Pulisic on the right.
I actually like that signing for them.
Yeah, I do too. But we had Pulisic on the right, Leao on the left. And I don't know if Feyenoord was like, I don't know, it's kind of cheeky by them. They let Leao and Theo Hernandez run up that left side all they wanted, and they really shut down the right side, Walker and Pulisic. Pulisic did not have a good game. I felt like he didn't get on the ball enough. And definitely when you have like ball heavy João Felix and Leao playing central and out left, I mean, you're not really going to get a lot of the service that you're used to. But then because of that, they dropped Musa from the lineup, obviously, because you got to play Reinders, and then they had Fofana in the middle with Reinders. And there was just like this disconnect because João Felix wasn't getting back. So there's a disconnect between the front line and the mid line, and Feyenoord was able to just find that space in the middle. And then that left side, Walker, I don't know, we might have to tag him as washed because he was getting run all over by the left wing that Feyenoord had. I can't remember his name.
Used to be his strength is his speed, man.
I know. And he's
34. Do you realize that? I didn't realize he got that old that quick.
I know. Now I'm seeing why Manchester City let him go. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll find our feet with these new signings, but I just don't think this was the time or place. Maybe we underestimated Feyenoord, but I don't know. It was just really, really disconnected from the front line to the midfield, and that just opened up so much space. And then that left side, the goal, you could say, Mignon got to do better, but I don't know, man. It was frustrating all around to watch. Leao, I realize on his day can be like literally world class and like unplayable. But when he does not put the effort in and is not trying, dude, he is such a liability out there. Him and Teo, I hate both of them on the same side. That it's just, I can't stand it. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling now, but it was hard to watch, to be honest. Really hard to watch.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see kind of Leao taking a little bit of a step back this year. He had an amazing Euros tournament where he was by far Portugal's best player. If you watch the game against France, bro, like, I think we talked about it too. Like, he got subbed off, I think, before they went to overtime. I was like, why on earth are you subbing him? This guy is the only guy doing anything. And every time he got on the ball, he was beating guys, speed, cutting inside, shooting, creating for other guys. Obviously that was last summer, but I thought coming into this season that he would just take Milan and the Serie A by storm, and he'd have those guys, fighting for the title again and everything. And obviously with Pulisic there, Pulisic's had some good games, but it just really baffles me really how he has not really been able to find his form this season. And I think that's a big reason why Milan isn't doing well. I think he struggled a little bit with injuries as well. He's been in and out of the lineup. A couple times I've checked lineups. Admittedly, I don't follow the Serie A as closely as I used to, just because it's not one of those leagues that's great games like left and right. But yeah, just a strange vibe from him for sure. I think the signings are solid, man. They gotta find some mojo. I think Joao Felix, I really like him as a player. Dude. At his peak, he can be, I wouldn't say world class anymore, but I remember when he burst on the scene with Atletico, dude, he was amazing. He was really, really, really good. Bopped around to some teams that didn't really know how to use him, didn't find form. Not the greatest with Portugal, unfortunately. But I think that, if they could get him back to where he used to be, I think he could be a bright spot for Milan going forward as well. But they're definitely going to need to put together something. I mean, you can't go out against Feyenoord when you're Milan. So we'll see how they're able to bounce back after that. Are they getting, was that at Feyenoord? Do you know?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So they'll be coming home. So
yeah, San Siro next.
They should be able to take care of business, but we'll see. Keeping it in Italy, Juventus beating PSV 2-1. Weston McKennie screamer. I actually did not even see this goal. No. I heard that he did score, but you want to give us a little rundown of the goal, or anything you want to add to the Juventus game there?
I didn't watch this game. I just saw the highlights on social media. Actually, I did see the Weston McKennie screamer dude caught it nicely, like right outside the box.
Was it a volley or what are we talking about?
It was like half volley off the hop, caught it midair. Dude, it wasn't even placed well, but just if you get a chance to see it, you should watch it. It was hit so hard that it just like flew right past the keeper before he could even react. Like it was just like, it was a great, great, great goal. But obviously, Juventus not having a super great season. PSV kind of that sleeper team that everyone kind of was thinking that might make a little bit of a surge, but Juventus take care of them. But no, not a whole lot to report or take away from this game, but just cool to see Weston, just that utility guy. He just finds a way to get into the team. I think I was watching some podcasts about, and they were talking about McKennie, and he's played like literally everywhere, like forward, right wing, left wing, center mid, right back, left back. The only place that he hasn't played at Juventus is center back, but he actually played that at Schalke when he was there. So he literally just utility guy,
plug and
everywhere.
Play. Yeah. Good for him. This little bit of a side note, but did you see the Everton Liverpool game yesterday? Or at least see the highlights?
No.
Obviously, I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, but they tied 1-1. Was it 1-1 or 2-2?
Yeah,
anyway,
so.
Everton scored really, really late, and the volley, bro, the center back caught on. It was inside the box, but like you just expect a center back to sky it, and he just like
Right.
destroyed the net. Like, you got to go
Dude,
back and watch that because
I'll have to.
besides the goal, there was 3 red cards after the final whistle.
I
Blah
did
blah.
see
But
that.
yeah. But
Oh,
anyway, that when you said half volley, I was like, yeah, that goal was
gotta go
nice.
check that
He
out
put
for
it like,
sure. Yeah.
top of the net. So, but
Mhm.
anyway, moving on. PSG beat Brest 3-0. Ousmane Dembele with a nice little brace here. PSG, don't have a solidified, superstar like they have had for several years now, but still able to take care of business, not just in the French league, but beating the teams that they should be beating. Vitinha with a goal as well. I really, really like him as a player. It's weird that I like all these Portuguese players, but he's a guy, dude, I would love at Arsenal, but he would cost a pretty penny for sure. But
Yeah.
just a solid midfielder, pretty short. Not a very big midfielder, but just never makes a mistake. Always, one of those low to the ground kind of middies that just makes things happen. Always has a good pass, kind of like Modric a little bit. So I like him a lot. But they take care of business 3-0. Dortmund also taking care of business against Sporting from Portugal 3-0. Dortmund not having the best season in the German league right now. I think they're still between 7th and 9th, somewhere in there right now. So not having the greatest season in Germany. Let go of their coach a few weeks ago. I think a couple weeks after Christmas. But they get it done against Sporting. Sporting really just reeling, at least in the Champions. I think they're still top of their league in Portugal, but reeling after Ruben Amorim went to Manchester United in late November. I don't know if you remember, but they were actually second in the Champions League table when he left. I mean, they'd just beaten Man City like 4-1 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And then they went on like a crazy losing streak, squeaked by into the knockout rounds in the Champions League, and now they're getting destroyed by Dortmund, who aren't very in form at all. So
Right.
tough couple months for them, but hopefully they'll still be able to hold on to the Portuguese league and maybe win that. But I'm not sure if you had any talking points about Dortmund here. I actually really like their striker, Jurasi, I think his name is, something like that. He's a solid striker. He may be the next guy to come out of Dortmund for another huge price tag on him. But I don't know if you saw a Dortmund game at all, if you have any talking points, but solid stuff by them.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams looking for a striker right now, so definitely might be on the move come this summer. But no, I didn't watch this game, but it's just funny. Dortmund can be doing like absolutely terrible in their league, but they're always somehow in the mix in the Champions League. I mean, obviously last season making the final against Real Madrid, kind of out of their depth when they got to the final for sure.
Still breaks my heart, man, for my guy Marco.
I know, dude. I wanted that one so badly for them. But no, that's all I really got to say. They're just kind of always in the mix, Dortmund, in the Champions League. They're kind of like the mini Real Madrid, turn up when it matters. So cool to see them still kind of surging, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Speaking of a striker, I meant to mention this earlier when we talk about Arsenal, but we need a striker so bad, dude. Like, we've needed one for basically 2 years now. Arsenal refuses to buy one for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Kai Havertz is now out for the season, so we're going to be struggling there. I have no idea. We're going to be playing a striker, probably Gabriel at this point, but we'll see. But Arsenal, I didn't have a chance to rant about that. Maybe that's something for next week, but I just don't understand why we're not buying a striker. We've needed one for literally 2 years now, and we don't buy one just because it's like not the right person. Just buy anybody that can put the ball in the back of the net, like, or it's somebody that can get a shot on goal. I'm sick of Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus just skying it from the 6-yard box and missing open goals. But anyway, flipping it over to the FA Cup now. Couple big upsets in here. Really, really good games. FA Cup is it's the oldest football competition in the world. Actually, it's been around since the 1800s. Just the magic of the cup, man. Like, anybody can go down at any time. I really like the rule that they put in place now, where they aren't doing replays anymore. At least not in the first few rounds, which I love because it's like what we love about March Madness. Like, anybody can beat anybody, but like if you had it, so the replays, I'll explain for those of you who don't watch soccer. If you tied, you would just replay the game, 2 weeks later. It's one of those tradition things that's always been around, and I hated it because upsets are so hard. Like a team from the third division, get a scrappy tie, could go to overtime. They may have momentum or whatever, but then they're like, nope, we're just going to replay the game. And then more often than not, the big time team, they get their act together, 3-0, boom, next round kind of thing.
Right.
But now we don't have that anymore. And you're seeing more overtimes. Not that this applied to any of the games we're about to talk about, but I just side note on that. But Liverpool, top of the league in the Prem, losing to 24th place in the second division, Plymouth Argyle, 1-0. Penalty goal, I think, in the 50-something minute, and they just packed the box. Typical, inferior division side going up against the big boys. But Liverpool, their hopes of a quadruple out the door as they're out in the FA Cup. I'm not sure if you saw any of this game at all, but big time dub by the guys in the second. They're not even like competing in the second division. They're so far down there.
They're dead last in the championship, sitting 24th in the championship. And this is why we love European soccer, like just the pyramid and the cups that they have that are in this format just give us moments like this. Obviously, I don't think Liverpool was playing. They were playing maybe like a B squad or something like that. Obviously, going in this game, like you're playing the last place in the division below you. Like, you have some leeway in your mind to be like, all right, we can kind of take this one off. But obviously, Plymouth did not take it off. Found a way to win 1-0. Huge result for them. And like you said, dashed Liverpool's dreams of a quadruple.
Yeah, solid stuff from them. Like you said, they actually didn't put too much of a B team out there. They still had Luis Diaz playing, Diego Jota, Endo was playing. They did rotate a little bit, but for the most part, a pretty solid squad they were going.
That makes
against,
it crazier. Holy cow!
Even more crazy, exactly. Chelsea also going out in the FA Cup against Brighton. Funny enough, you played them again in the Premier League this coming weekend, but Brighton getting you guys out of the FA Cup. What do you guys say about it, all, Fezzy?
Oh, man. We're still young, so we can play that card. But if we start doing this nonsense next year, man, it's going to be problems.
At least you lost to a first division team. I'll give you that.
That's true. And Brighton's always that sneaky good team that you never want to see. They can upset anybody. So, I mean, 2-1 kept it competitive, which is you like to see. But obviously, it'd be nice with this squad. Like, we're not going to win the Premier League. We're trying to stay in those Champions League spots, obviously, so we can have some European football next year. It'd be nice to, I don't know, walk away with a little something this year. So try to stay competitive in some cup, but obviously not to be. Hopefully we can take it out on them this coming week. I actually didn't watch this game, but I'm going to start watching more soccer now that we have football. With having a baby and, trying to spend time with the wife, it's hard to fit, Saturday Premier League on top of all the basketball I'm keeping up with. Right. And then on Sundays, all the football. But now, Sundays will be more open. So being able to watch Premier League and basketball on Saturdays will be much more manageable. But yeah
definitely. Just to that notion as well. This summer, man, I know we always say the summer of the dog days, but we're not going to have any soccer tournaments. We're not going to have the Olympics. We're not going to have nothing. Man. So better days are coming to all you women out there. But
you guys might be getting some shorter pods. I don't know if you'll be thankful for that. Sam and I have talked so much about like, man, we got to short these. We got to short these.
So bad.
At this point, we're just like, you know what? If the podcasts are an hour and 15 minutes long, just pick the segment you want to listen to and listen to it. Like,
we got to start putting in a description like the timestamps for what we're talking about.
Yeah, that'll be the next step in the editing process. I'm done editing. I'm honestly happy we're doing it remote because like Riverside will do 90% of the process, and I'll just slap that sucker on Spotify and YouTube tomorrow. But I digress.
That's right. Last game we'll hit here in the FA Cup, Man City almost lose to third-tier Leyton Orient. They go down 1-0 after an insane half-field shot, catching the Man City goalkeeper out just a little bit. Crazy shot, honestly. They even made it from that far out. So they go up 1-0, going to halftime up 1-0, and the Man City are able to get a couple late goals actually to squeak by third-tier Leyton Orient. Just shows you the kind of season that they're having. Obviously, we talked about it, to great lengths at this point, but they get out of there with a win. But big props to Leyton Orient, giving them all they can all they can. I feel like everybody's, man, they're just getting, Man City's just getting everybody's best shot. Like everybody sees that they're down and they're just like, dude, this is our chance. So,
Absolutely.
big props to them. But that'll kind of conclude our soccer portion here. Fezzy Boy will get us going with a little college basketball here in a second. But we'll be pretty excited to see what these second legs of the Champions League will do. I think it's next week, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll come at you once again next week with some winners of the two legs there. So get excited for that next week, and Fezzy Boy will take us away with a little college basketball.
All right, with football season behind us, we're definitely going to be diving more and more into basketball season with March Madness fastly approaching. Definitely got to start getting those picks ready for sure. We're going to highlight a few of the games that happened this past week. I know there's been some other big games, but two of the biggest games, Auburn and Duke, finally taking L's in their respective conferences. Auburn losing to Florida 90-81. This is their first loss in the SEC. This past week, they still held their number one spot in the AP poll, while Duke dropped to 3 and Alabama surging to 2. Sammy Boy, you watched this game. How did you I know you're kind of a bit of a Auburn, I want to say hater, Auburn doubter. Don't think they're as good as they're projected to be. A lot of people have them winning the national championship game, but Florida taking it to Auburn, giving them their first loss in the SEC.
Yeah, I'm impressed by Florida quite a bit. Obviously a high scoring game here. SEC this year, especially, like anybody can beat anybody. Obviously that's true of any game in basketball really, but like I said, really impressed with Florida's game. High scoring game. I didn't think that Auburn. I think they made some dumb mistakes in the second half that really hurt their chances. Ended up losing by 9. It was obviously a little bit closer throughout the game, but I'll give big props to Florida. Kind of, there was a couple spots there where you could see Auburn had the opportunity to kind of seize back momentum there and really go on a run there. But Florida's sticking with it, man. Obviously, they're showing why they're a top 5 team in the country right now. I think I guess you can't say a sleeper when they're a top 5 team, but I think they have really a big opportunity to make some noise in the tournament this year for sure. So I was really impressed by their scoring, really, is the bottom line. So I think Auburn will go far, but yeah, like you said, I tend to doubt that they're going to go and just wreck everybody and win the whole thing like some people think.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they'll be as dominant as like UConn the past few years, like not winning or winning all their games like by double digits or more in the tournament, which is like, that's just absolutely insane. We'll get to UConn in a little bit.
And yeah, well, and one more thing on Auburn too, like they're number 1, but I think they've been number 1 for a little while now because the teams that are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, like they keep losing, and Auburn's been losing too. But like, since the other teams are losing as well, like they're not going to put somebody else at 1. Right. So, I think that they might be deserving of 1, like who else are they going to put up there? But, maybe also, like if Duke didn't lose this weekend, they might have gone to 1 kind of thing. So,
Right. Yeah, that's a good segue into the next big game of note. Duke fall to Clemson, the Blue Blood Killers, 77-71. I totally agree with you. I think Duke would have been number 1 if they didn't lose, and it definitely would have shaken up a few things in the National Player of the Year as well. Obviously, it's kind of a 2-horse race with Broome and Cooper Flagg kind of battling out for that. Flagg slipping on a crucial last-minute play. He was dealing with some cramps too, which was kind of wild that he was still in there kind of fighting through that. He kept getting treatment like during the timeouts. I was like, dude, this isn't good. Like if you've had a cramp, that
it's the worst.
Like one wrong step in the wrong direction or like a quick movement, it flares right up, dude. It's debilitating. But I know Sammy Boy's a bit of I wouldn't say he's a closet Clemson fan, kind of by association because we live here. We both root for Clemson to do well. Not weirdly enough, but like I actually that night, I didn't remember when we were having company over. We had them over earlier in the day, but I almost texted you and Peter, and I was like, dude, we should go to this game. Like, it was probably, right? The tickets probably were like kind of probably on the pricier side, but like we could have found like some tickets for like, I don't know, $60-$70. And this game would have been worth it. It would have been
go see Cooper Flagg in college. That's big time stuff.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, this guy's gonna be first. Like some people are paying him as like the face of the NBA already, and he's still in college. I'm just like, to see a generational player like that, and then obviously it turned out to be a great game where underdog. We always root for the underdog, but you watched this game. What'd you think about your boys in orange taking home the win?
Yeah, really impressed, obviously. Clemson have a really, really good team once again. It's kind of crazy they're not ranked. They're like second in the ACC, but they're not ranked. You have Duke all the way at like 3. But yeah, really impressed with their defense. They had, I actually wasn't able to watch most of the first half. Like I turned it on and Cooper Flagg had like 4 points, like early on in the second half. I was like, what is going on? But then, they kind of were able to sustain their lead pretty well. And then Cooper Flagg just started hitting from 3. Like he hit a couple big shots. Dude, I can't say enough about Cooper. I think he's going to be so good. We keep harking back to his camp with the U.S. U.S. Olympic team, and then all those guys had nothing but good things to say about him. But Clemson was really impressive. My favorite player on Clemson, Ian Shefflin, didn't have a great game offensively, but really sound defensively. You mentioned him off pod, but their big center, Victor Locken, this big Russian center they got from Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Not only is he massive and gets like every board, but he's got a little bit of a shot. Like he had a 3 or 2 in there. Yeah. I was like, this guy out of nowhere kind of thing.
22 points, man.
Yeah, really, really impressive from him. But just a really solid game from Clemson. And Duke wasn't able to kind of put it together. They're late, like you said, had a chance to, I think, tie or maybe even go ahead, but Cooper Flagg slipping on the court there. I did hear the announcers say that it was really, really warm in there for whatever reason. So I think that probably had something to do with not just the condensation or whatever on the court, but also, Cooper Flagg cramping up as well. Cooper Flagg was like drenched in sweat. So like, I think it was just, it may have been one of those days where it's first starting to get hot again and they just weren't ready for it. So they didn't kick on the AC or something, but
right.
Just crazy good win for Clemson here. I'm sure you'll mention it maybe too, but Clemson are 5-0 in their last 5 games against teams ranked in the top 5. So that's an insane stat. Like they flashed it on the screen once the buzzer sounded. I was like, that's crazy. Like, if you're your top 10 team all the time, like, that's one thing, but like Clemson are unranked, I feel like most of the time. So I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Like, I totally forgot to put that stat, and I'm glad you told me to put it in like right before we started the segment. Like, that's just insane, dude. Like, bringing your absolute best, being 5-0. Like, even if you were like 3-2 against top ranked teams,
right?
Like top 5 ranked, like 5th through 1 ranked teams, like being 3-2 would be like amazing. But the fact that you're 5-0, and like you said, like a majority of those wins not ranked, I think when the AP poll did refresh, I think I looked it up right here. Yeah, Clemson's actually up to 23rd in the rankings now. So back in the AP poll, they're actually
higher.
I don't in the coaches poll they're 19th. So definitely the coaches are the coaches are rating them a bit better than the AP voters. But no, good to see Clemson back because I definitely they made that run last year. And I think they were barely ranked for most of the year.
True.
Made it to the Sweet 16, almost beat. Who'd they lose to?
Didn't they get to the Elite 8 and they lost to Alabama?
Alabama, that's right. Yeah, and they were close and competitive in that game too. So they definitely could have made a Final Four run if a few more buckets went their way. But yeah, those are kind of the two big results from the week. 1 and 2 going down against. The SEC is just crazy. So everyone expected Auburn to lose, but in an ACC that's kind of down this year, Duke wasn't expected to really take a hit until maybe ACC tournament play. But
have you seen the trend that's going around online right now that the SEC is 82-82 against the SEC or whatever? That's so funny. Dude, it took me a second first time to get it. I was like, dude, that's a crazy stat. And then I was like,
oh, wait.
Oh,
of course,
I'm an idiot.
50%. Me too. I'm sitting there just like at first, like it was such a weird stat in my head that like it was so simple. Like I went, wait a minute, of course it's going to be 50%. But then I kept looking at it, I was like, wait a minute.
It was funny because like a second later, I saw that like across, like they had all the conferences up there, and they were like, for the first time ever, or whatever, like every conference is 500 against like whatever in conference play. I was like, what? And then I was like, oh,
yeah,
I'm an idiot again. So.
I saw a meme where it was like, did you know that every conference team wins 50% of their conference? I was just like, wait, what? That's insane. I was like, it's got to be more than that. And I was like, oh, it's because someone's losing and someone's winning. It's always split. I was just like, I feel really dumb, really dumb. But yeah, that's kind of a look at the two big results. We're gonna take it a little differently. Kind of the bigger story, one of the big stories in college hoops right now, the Johnnies, St. John's University with Rick Pitino surging. They're up to 9th in the AP poll this week after a huge win against UConn, 68-62. I can't remember the deficit, but they came back from like a 10-plus point deficit after halftime, beating UConn at UConn. Obviously, UConn isn't the repeat champions UConn like they were last year, but still, whenever you beat the champs, it's a good feeling. But I just wanted to touch on a couple stats from St. John's, kind of doing it with their defense and mid-range. Surprisingly, they rank like, I didn't get I did right here. They're 4th in 2-point attempts, 298th in 3-point attempts. So obviously bringing the mid-range back, a bit of old school basketball. They're holding teams to 39.4% 2-point percentage, which is like nuts. That's crazy to hold a team under 40%. Like 2 points. Like I can understand like 40% 3-point. That's like a good percentage for a team. But holding a team 2 points, that's usually like in the 50s or 60s. But that's 16th in the nation. And then they're averaging holding teams to 65 points per game, which is 28th in the nation. Some of those numbers are a little weird because, like, obviously when you take all the teams across all conferences, like mid-major, high major, and all that, there's obviously teams that have better numbers that are in worse leagues. So it's a little skewed. But I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Johnnies. Obviously, big name coach Rick Pitino doing it in year 2. A lot of people are saying they could be a Final Four team. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I haven't really watched much of them all this season. I watched a little bit of the UConn game. Obviously, an impressive win, even though UConn maybe not quite as good as they have been the last couple of years. I still think that UConn will make noise in the tournament, but yeah, really impressive for them. Obviously, the stats you're throwing up there seems like they might be a team that could go really far into the tournament. I feel like we say this every time we bring it up, but like Rick Pitino, bro, like he could literally, like, I feel like you can't say this about everybody either. He could literally coach any team in Division I, and he could get them to the tournament within 2 or 3 years of being there. It's absolutely insane at this point. But yeah, I need to watch a little bit more St. John's, I think, now that football's done and we're kind of getting to the point where, the conference tournament coming up and stuff. So don't know too much about them, but I know that Rick Pitino's coaching them and they're always going to have a chance. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, a crazy stat on Pitino. Every
9th
stop
is crazy high. Sorry.
Yeah, dude, 9th, and they're not even a good offensive team. They're just so good defensively. It's insane. I think they're Big East. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, after this win, they're first in the Big East. Obviously, big wins over Creighton and UConn. So they're projected to win the Big East like first time in like legitimately, I think it's like 60 years or something like that. Some insane number like that. They're actually ranked, I think, 2 in overall defensive efficiency in the nation, which is crazy. Like old school ball by Rick Pitino, getting it done over there in New York. But like you said with Rick Pitino, dude, took Iona to the freaking tournament, and they were like competitive. Like I think they made it out of the first weekend, and then I can't remember who they played because it was like it was Rick Pitino versus like it was another like big name coach. I want to say it was maybe Michigan State.
Yeah,
and they were like
competitive. I think.
and they were competitive. Like Iona was like competitive in that game. Like I didn't even know what Iona was until Rick Pitino went there, got him to the tournament. I was like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah, I always find college basketball to be so fascinating because you really only need to recruit 5 or 6 guys to have a really good season. Like in football, you need, you know, depth, you need 22 at least starters, like you need blah 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 blah. But like in college basketball, dude, like you can even survive without 6 guys. Like 2 or 3 really good players, really good recruits, couple glue guys, like, and you're Gucci. Like I feel like that's kind of what Patino's mastered that. Like once he says, "Hey, I'm going to this team," you know, he only needs a few guys to follow him there, and he can make a good team. So, impressive stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Crazy stat on Patino. Everywhere he's gone, obviously rebuilds in the first season. Every second season he has 20 plus wins. Hasn't gone 20 plus, like less than 20 plus wins in his second season. So it just shows once he gets there, a little rough sailing, but that second year, a full season to recruit. And obviously in this day and age in NIL, buy some players, get some talent through the doors. 20 plus win seasons every stop in the second year. Crazy. Just to refresh you guys on the AP poll, because it did drop this Monday. We were planning on doing this podcast Tuesday or Wednesday, so some of this is a little old at this point. But the AP poll as of Monday, Auburn 1, Alabama surging to 2, Duke dropping to 3rd. Florida and Duke are actually tied. Let me pull up the AP poll here quick because it was kind of wild. Total points. Duke and Florida are tied 1,342. So they're tied for 3rd. Tennessee bringing up the 5th spot. Then you got Houston, Purdue, Texas A&M, which is kind of like a weird one. I haven't seen a whole lot about Texas A&M, but I wouldn't even say like a quiet good season. Like obviously 8th, and then we were just talking St. John's in that 9th spot, and then bringing up the 10th spot. Iowa State clinging on for dear life to the top 10 because I think Sam brought it up. He was kind of getting on me because I was saying Tennessee and Kentucky fakers, and then he was like, "How about Iowa State? They've been dropping some games in the Big 12," and I was just like, "I don't know, man. They're
I
pretty
said
good."
From the beginning that they were kind of
yeah. So we'll see if they can hold on to that top 10 position. Michigan State right behind them in that 11th spot. So we'll see how that pans out. That's going to do it for the college basketball portion of this segment. We're going to move into some NBA talk. I know we've talked about the trade deadline quite a bit, but there were a few moves that were made right on Thursday on deadline day. So we'll get into that a little bit. We have Wiggins for Butler, which was kind of a bigger trade. Obviously, the bigger news was Butler going to the Warriors, Wiggins finding a new home.
Last few weeks of him being in Miami, dude, were toxic. Like, suspensions. He's fighting with Pat Riley. Blah blah blah. It's craziness over there.
Yeah, was this like a spillover from last season? I don't even like it. To me, not keeping up with it, it kind of was like out of the blue. Like, oh yeah,
it was a little bit. They kept suspending him because he kept requesting trades and saying he wants out. And then he wasn't doing it in the best way, so they're giving him conduct detrimental to the team. So they kept suspending him just because he wasn't, he didn't want to be there and was making it pretty known. But if you look at Jimmy Butler's track record, it kind of does that. Obviously, he's been loyal to Miami for a number of years now, but kind of everywhere he's been, he's kind of burned bridges on the way out. Like not as much at the Bulls, where the team that originally drafted him, but when he went to Minnesota, burned bridges there. Went to Philadelphia, burned bridges there. Went to the Heat, burned bridges there on his way out. So as much as I like Jimmy Butler, I had a ton of respect for him getting to the Heat to 2 finals, actually, which is nuts. Kind of putting the team on his back in the playoffs. Doesn't have the greatest track record when he's leaving teams. So
yeah, no, absolutely not. Like just a super petty individual. I think that's the best way you can describe it. Just like really petty. Like if things don't go his way, he'll let you know. Not really
like Wiggins on the Heat though, with Bam and Tyler Hero.
Yeah, sad to see him go. They don't really have a point guard, but sad to see him go. He definitely was instrumental in that 2022 championship for the Warriors. But moving on to the Heat for sure. Then we had a Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, obviously, huge part of that championship run that Milwaukee went
Been
on.
hurt for so long too.
Yeah, very, very injury prone. Definitely older, kind of getting a younger guy in Kyle Kuzma. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I wouldn't even
Great
say
trade
better
for the Bucks, I would say.
Yeah, definitely
Just
getting
because
some
Chris
use.
was so old, so injury prone. I get Kuzma isn't like, top player or anything like that, but
people thought he was going to be though when he was drafted by the Lakers. Like everyone's like, "Oh, this is the steal." Like that season, he was considered the steal of the draft. But then after that, I don't know. He just kind of fell off a cliff. Didn't play super well.
I still think he has a little bit of a ceiling. I think playing for a team that's not losing every single game night in, night out will help him a little bit. But yeah, they just get younger. He's a big body, plays defense. He's got a little bit of a shot to him as well. So they obviously the Bucks get younger, moving off a guy who's old and injury prone, and I was actually making a decent amount of money for being old and injury prone. So I think it's a good move for the Bucks.
Yeah, definitely a good move for the Bucks. We had De'Aaron Fox go to head to the Spurs to play with Wemby. Zach LaVine heads to the Kings to reunite with who they got there? DeMar DeRozan.
Sabonis DeMar DeRozan there too.
Who's there?
Sabonis.
Oh, that's right. Yep. So kind of I want to say a like for like, but two kind of older players that you know what you're going to get out of them, and both teams realized that they needed the skill set of each of them, so they kind of made a swap for that. Were there any picks involved with that? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think there's a couple picks, rotation players involved as well. Like when I put these in the doc, these aren't just straight Wiggins for Butler, Kuzma for Middleton. There's other things involved, but I was just including the biggest players. Right. But I think the most notable thing for the Fox and LaVine trade was that Fox made it known kind of from the beginning that he wanted to play on the Spurs, which was like whoever wants to play for the Spurs. But I guess Wemby may have a little bit of a draw over there. Like I can't see another reason why you'd want to go to the Spurs of all teams. Right. So I guess he wants to play with Wemby, which is interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was an interesting trade for sure. My thing is like after the Kings were like really good like 2 seasons ago, kind of making they didn't make like a super deep run, but they were like this up and coming team with a really good
round,
really good head coach. I was like, dude, you got to run it back, keep this core together. And then just this past season, they're just like, oh, we're not stacking the wins like we were that season. Fire their coach, get rid of De'Aaron Fox, kind of bring in some new...
They were out in the play-in last year, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Lakers or Warriors. Lakers beat them, I think. But, and then kind of in some weird news, trade news, Mark Williams for Dalton Connect falls through. This was the Lakers' attempt at getting some rim protection after letting AD go for Luka Doncic, which is
centers.
No centers. Absolutely no centers. I think, what's his name? Is it Jackson Hayes?
Yeah, he's their only center now.
Yeah, he just got hurt. They had to play a guy that they signed 24 hours ago last night.
Alex Len. Yeah.
Yeah. So, interesting to see Dalton Connect. I saw an interview, Dalton Connect. He was like, yeah, I flew out to Charlotte, said hi to everybody, flew out to Detroit for my debut game, got a call from Rob Pelinka, said you're coming back, and ended up back in LA with the Lakers. So interesting to see. I think he's young enough that he won't have like too hard feelings, but interested to see him back.
Dude, I don't know. Like he'll get over it. Yeah. But like he told JJ Redick he needs time to like process the trade or whatever, like what went down. Cause like, I don't know. I want to call him soft because like, dude, you were there for 5 minutes, but like,
right.
I guess when a team trades you don't really want to play for that team anymore. So it's kind of awkward. But the reason that the trade fell through was because Mark Williams couldn't pass a physical.
Yeah,
super weird. Like, how do you play in the NBA and you're not able to pass a physical?
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting the kind of the spiral that it kind of threw LA in because they made this trade like in the last hour, I think, of the trade before the trade deadline. And they obviously they got their center, or so they thought. And then when the trade fell through because he didn't pass his physical, they obviously, like you said, had no centers. So they're having to get somebody off the street who I saw, like you said, he played last night or something. His stats are horrible. So I don't know. may be really vulnerable at the center position, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And interesting about that, like I was kind of listening to someone explain like how it fell through and stuff like that. So a player can go through a physical, and then the team trading for him, like receiving him, can like literally be like, oh, this dude has a hangnail, we don't want him. Like literally for any reason, can just be like, we don't want him. And that will like veto the trade right there and then. But someone was explaining it, and they were saying like they need to change the rule because that's really detrimental to like someone like Mark Williams, where like the Lakers don't have to release why he failed the physical like that. Like they don't have to say anything after that. They just say, we don't want him, failed physical, send him back. Now that marks him as like damaged goods. Like everyone in the league is going to be like, so his trade value goes down after that. And that also hurts the team that he's going back to, because they're like, well, we can't trade him now because everyone's going to be like, well, we don't want him. He failed a physical with LA and they didn't want him. So it's just like, it kind of puts the team trading him away and the player at a disadvantage if you rescind the trade. So,
yeah. And I'm thinking that they found something that was pretty serious, because if you look at the trade, like the Lakers needed the trade way more than the Hornets did.
Yeah,
and
to give
like
up Dalton Connect for it.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually happy for Dalton because he's going to be able to kind of have a bigger role at Charlotte. But if you look at the trade, like they would have benefited way more than the Hornets would have. And we just mentioned the spiral that it kind of put them in. So, it would be in their best interest. Like it wasn't something small that they would just overlook. Like they found something, they're like, oh, this is a real problem. Like, so that they would, rescind the trade and kind of have to be scrambling to get somebody that's probably not even as good as Mark Williams would be. So it was probably something serious. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. All right, quickly here, we're going to go through some stories that happened right before we head into the All-Star break. We got Luka and LeBron playing for the first time. Luka coming back from injury. How long was he out for? You might know that more.
Since Christmas Day.
Wow, he's been out for a while. So still trying to find his legs. Obviously,
he's on a minutes restriction as well.
Yeah, obviously has to find his legs and get back into basketball shape. But the first game of two played really well. Had 20 plus points and a lot of assists. Definitely finding some of those offensive players. Offense isn't going to be the Lakers' problem. Their defense is gonna be the downfall of them. Obviously, second game didn't do as well. Had a few more turnovers. Still had a decent scoring run, but just did not play super well. I'm not sure if you kept up with this or watched it, but how do you see the Lakers season kind of finishing out now that they have Luka but no rim protection or true center?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely followed it. Obviously Luka's still my boy. I'm still going to follow, his career and everything. Like I won't root for the team as much as maybe I would have when he was on the Mavericks, but I'm still going to follow him. But yeah, I think another reason I mentioned, a couple weeks ago when this trade went down was like Luka's got to be fuming. Like you felt like the Mavericks were kind of geared to go to another finals, built around him, and now he's kind of put on a team that has a lot of holes and a lot of deficiencies. Like their second best player is a 40-year-old LeBron James, who like he's still good, but he's I would question if you can even win a title with him as your second best player. Obvious questions on defense. Their third best player, I guess, is Austin Reeves, who he's been killing it recently, but he has kind of ups and downs. Zero rim protection. They don't really have a center that, like, with Jackson Hayes now going down, like they don't have a Derek Lively who can just go up and get lobs. So I think it's gonna, like, the media is gonna hype them to be like, oh, they're going to the finals, blah blah, whatever. Like, I think they'd be happy with a second round exit, to be honest. Like they may win one round, like the first round, and then they'll probably run into a juggernaut like the Nuggets or my Thunder or somebody else that might be good in the West. So I think it'll be a tough sailing here in the first year, but they got to surround Luka with a little bit more talent, especially at the center position and defensively, like the Mavericks did before they traded him. So
right, exactly, yeah. Their playoff aspirations are definitely very matchup dependent. Like that first round,
their record looks decent, actually.
Sorry, yeah, they're like third or fourth in the West right now. So if they can hold on to
but yeah,
if they can hold on to that, like, and get like a favorable matchup in the first round, like I don't know if the Warriors put a string of games together and make the play-in and get out, and then they play the Lakers in the first round. Like, I mean, they're not very big either. So like that matchup definitely favors the Lakers. But then, like you said, if they meet a Nuggets who have Jokic or OKC that has good size with Chet and all that, like it's definitely that's not a matchup that they're going to be able to. I don't know. In my mind, win. So it'll be interesting to see. Taking a look at the other half of that Luka AD trade, not looking too good for the Mavericks. Obviously, Nico Williams still walking around with a lot of Nico Harris, walking around with a lot of security, receiving death threats this week. Obviously, Maverick fans are not letting him forget the biggest mistake of his life, for sure. But AD, huge debut in the first half, goes out with an injury in the second half. And this just, if you go back to our preview episode last week, Sammy Boy was saying, he told you all, AD's made of glass. How's it feel to be right? And how do you see this working out? Because it's not only AD. Gafford got hurt. Lively's been hurt for a while. And they, in the trade with the Lakers, they got rid of Kleba. So, like, there is no size anymore for the Mavericks.
Bro, like, first of all, it feels great to be right. So that's great. Yeah, I saw this coming from a mile away. I'm so glad, dude. They got the full AD experience in one game. Like, killer first half, like 24, 26 points. Second half, he like non-contact, weird like abdomen injury. Sounds like he's gonna have to have surgery now.
Yeah, dude.
And he might be out for the rest of the season. Like, oh, perfection, dude. If you're, looking at that, and everything. The Mavericks are kind of just imploding. Their fans, I don't know if you followed this at all, but everybody's screaming fire Nico and obscenities at Nico, the ownership, whatever. They're escorting their own fans out of the arena, which is such a bad look. Like, you're just alienating your entire fan base. Add insult to injury, at the very last second of the deadline, they traded a guy named Quentin Grimes away for some scrub. I don't even know. And Quentin Grimes immediately had a 35-point game in his first game for his new team. And like you said, Gafford is now hurt as well. Lively's been kind of in and out of the lineup for a little while. So, not looking too great for the Mavericks going forward. I just love that the trade imploded on the Mavericks side, like, immediately as soon as AD got out there. Like, it's just Nico's going to deserve everything he gets. Like, obviously the death threats, we don't condone that at all. That's too far. But he's going to be like, he might get run out of town by next season, dude. Like, there's there's no coming back from that. Like, that's just inexcusable. So, good stuff.
Imagine they like missed the playoffs after like him being like, we feel like we can win now. Like, this is our window, this season and the next two. Like, just imagine
he's going to have the excuse that AD went down, but like everyone knew he was going to go down. So like, I think the record still says that they're probably going to get in, but
I was just going to say, no, you're totally right. Like, the excuse that you want to use is the reason that everyone said that you were an idiot. So like, if you use that excuse, it just solidifies that point even more in the fans' eyes. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, like you said, AD I think he's trying not to have surgery, but because he's not having surgery, the PT to get back is literally like months out. So he's like, it's either like end the season or be out for months. Like,
cooked.
Either way, Mavericks definitely losing this deal right now for sure. All right, to wrap up the segment and the pod, we're going to talk Steph and Butler, opposites attract. Those were the words that Butler used in an interview for sure. I haven't watched a whole lot of them because obviously Warriors games are on like super late, and they're also like never on ESPN or anything like that.
They're bad this year too.
They're really not good, but the two games with Butler have looked different, I guess you could say. I wouldn't even say it looks good, but it definitely is nice to see that they have this second option, kind of like what they wanted to use Clay as, that Clay was last year, coming off the bench and playing with the second unit and being that go-to guy in the second unit. Butler, way better defender than Clay was tail end of his career at Golden State. But obviously a little different. He says it's like night and day difference playing with Steph because like there's always two guys watching Steph. He's like, I got all this space to operate and get to the rim, draw fouls, get to the free throw line. So, yeah, just really quickly here, like I didn't know if you had any thoughts or takes on this whole situation, but
yeah, I mean, just really quickly, I view this trade as, the Warriors trying to squeeze the very, very last little bit out of Curry and his, I don't know if you can call it a prime anymore, out of his career. He might be done in the next couple of years, which, if I was him, I'd probably call it quits after this year or next. But,
right.
Pairing a really old Butler with a really old Steph, a really old Draymond, doesn't move the needle for me. Like I said, they're just trying to squeeze out the last couple of years. Like they're in the last play-in spot right now, so I don't really think this changes much for them. Does it make them a little bit more competitive? I guess. I still think that Wiggins maybe would have been a better player, but obviously they weren't happy with it, so maybe they're trying to push for it. But yeah, I don't really see this moving the needle too much for them. I hope that Steph has a good end to his career, but the fact that Draymond is still playing there and a starter, insane. He should have been gone like 3 years ago. Their role players aren't really that great. Like they have Pods who had a good last year, but it doesn't move the needle for me. So
yeah, no. Quickly on Draymond before we end. I saw this. It's not even a meme, but I think someone was generally trying to make a point that like the whole reason that Golden State is reeling right now is because of Draymond. Like he's the one that forced KD out. He's the one that forced KD out, and he's the one that forced Jordan Poole out. Mm-hmm. And KD, obviously, like they would have won like 2 more championships if KD was still there. Like talk about dynasty, like they would be destroying the league still. And then you got Jordan Poole, who like if he stuck around was the clear successor to Steph Curry after he left. Like almost like similar to a T games. Like Steph's a bit of a better passer or what have you, but like the whole interaction with Draymond, and they chose Draymond over their future, and I'm just like, dude,
exactly. Like I don't think Poole quite has the drive of like Steph Curry, but he definitely had a similar play style, and if he was on a good team, he'd definitely be killing it, I think. So I saw exactly what you were talking about, and I couldn't agree more for sure. So and he's always been like, he always talks above his weight, bro. Like it always rubbed me the wrong way that he was always trying to like he would always write checks that Clay and Steph would have to cash for him. Like he was always talking trap. Like he was always, 3rd or 4th best player on the team, like glue guy, defensive dude. Yeah. But like he was always, kind of the toxic guy in the fold there at the Warriors, in my opinion. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, that's a pod, Sammy.
It's finally a pod. Goodness.
It's finally a pod. A little bit of a long one because we were saying goodbye to football and then kind of trying to transition everything into the soccer and basketball portion of the pod, with the seasons kind of coming to an end. We got Champions League wrapping up here in June. March will come quicker than we know it, but we appreciate you guys sticking with it and tuning in. Check us out on all our platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Like and subscribe. Also, we are currently at 72 followers on Instagram. Woohoo, big. But like if you guys could go follow that and get us to 100, that'd be huge. And also, I noticed that we're gaining some followers on Spotify. So if you guys could go follow us on Spotify and also rate the podcast, that would really help us out a lot. We appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.